How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. I am your host, FaZe Crypto. Today is, of course, June 5th, 2019. It's a Wednesday. I'd just like to welcome everybody to the video. Make sure that you drop a like. Really helps out with the algorithm. And of course, congratulations to everybody who has been playing this game of accumulation in the cryptocurrency space. I know that it could be hard sometimes, but I'd just like to say, congratulations in advance. I think that there's some really interesting things that'll be coming up in the next course of weeks in 2019 summer. I really do think that there are some interesting indicators of what we can expect to see. I know right now we're sort of going through a rough patch, but in the overall context of the past few weeks, this is to be expected. A little backtrack, really not to be worried about. In my opinion, according to my analysis, I think we will see things move up further before they actually get totally pulled backwards. So there's probably still some opportunities out there for people looking to accumulate gains. But of course, the topic of this video is going to be HoloChain. More or less, I think that it's important to talk about HoloChain regularly on this channel, just because it's really one of those cryptocurrencies that I don't want people to overlook. I think when you do your research into HoloChain, I mean, it's next to nothing right now. And the fact of the matter is, anybody who's waiting for this use cases and all these different things are really going to send the price of Holo skyrocketing. I think once it is actually one of those cryptos that gets out there, proves itself in a certain amount of measures that we'll be discussing in this video, HoloChain is really going to be one of those cryptocurrencies that are going to be gaining a lot of attention when they get themselves out there to a certain extent. So if you're waiting for XRP to be $1, I think that it's one of those cryptos that in that sort of, of course, at the time of making this video, we're looking at market cap of 249, 296, and in another atmosphere, in another setting, I think with crypto, if there was more money being poured into the space in general, I could easily see Holo gaining that attention that it gets, occasionally when it has those big jumps, but of course, Bitcoin has been an interesting topic of discussion, and I think, it's always interesting to just look at the various different events that are occurring in the cryptocurrency space in relation to blockchain. And talking about HoloChain in that context is, I think, forward-looking, thinking beyond blockchain, thinking beyond the limitations of the paradigm shift and the next stages of it that people are expecting. But this article about Ripple, in a new Ripple Insight report published on June 3rd, Ripple addresses concerns of the exaggerated number of overall, XRP volume. Of course, you guys wanted me to comment on this, and it's just interesting to see how, Ripple's been doing its thing, and I'm still interested in seeing how the correlation is going to work itself out. But I mean, do you believe in fractals? The last two pumps look identical, and we have the same EMA crossover happening right now. Target looks around 3,000. Is it all just a dream? Speaks for itself. I mean, we'll see in the future. I mean, if you put that sort of stock in any of these charts, I mean, some really interesting people on Twitter. You should follow some of those people. I mean, this one saying clear breakout. I think we'll have a pullback around 2536 SAT level, which should bring us to about 22, on the tether pair. And he says he thinks HoloChain will outperform BitTorrent. So it's definitely interesting insight there. $1 for HoloChain. I mean, I'm not going to completely take it off the table. I think in the long term, it's kind of a shoo-in. It's sort of one of those cryptos that, with Holo just being ahead of the game, I think it's one of those cryptos that's definitely interesting to pay attention to in that same context, and especially in the conversation that's developing right now. The fact of the matter is, I think a lot of people still feel like they're living in the past, stuck in that time where Bitcoin was at that $4,000 level, and with what some people have been terming as a current free fall. And I think that we could honestly see those levels again, not in the near future, but it does give us some opportunities to make some gains in the meantime. Now, of course, you got to do your own due diligence on these things, but I think the fact of the matter is that a lot of the other altcoins still haven't even caught up. I mean, we have seen some miraculous, things happening that wouldn't happen anywhere else in the space, but they are happening in the cryptocurrency space right now. And it can be reflected in the percentages that we see, the gains that are possible for some of these technologies that really goes above and beyond what people see like in the stock market and all these things that people get confused with the cryptocurrency space, which is of course something else that's very interesting. And another interesting thing that I wanted to talk about on here is China. China's Google Trends reveal similar rise in Bitcoin searches. This is definitely very interesting, to say the least, as a non-tactical indicator for those without time or inclination to peruse Bitcoin price charts all day. Google Trends is fine for that. It's okay. It's not exactly scientific, though. Science, I think, just the fact that, Bitcoin's definitely, in China, I think it's interesting to see how they approach the situation and how, we've been seeing the dynamics with the trade, U.S. trade, and of course the China situation there with, something to be expected. I think that people who, overlook the fact that the U.S. is sort of slowly winning, in that effect, but I still think that it has its effect on the markets. And, whenever there's that overall shakeup, people tend to look the other way. But still, when it comes to HoloChain, it's an entirely different ballgame. There's this front of with the social media giants. In particular, we got to talk about Bookface. We got to talk about what's happening with the cryptocurrency aspect of that. And when we really want to talk about the evolution of the internet and this growing emphasis on the usage of data and how people are able to basically gain control, I think that it's a readily available conversation regarding HoloChain, and especially how we'll be seeing essentially a lot of these different cryptocurrencies that are really making these serious inroads in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the old guard internet and a lot of the different variables that are subsequently coming together in that same time. And I think that, when we're talking about, peer-to-peer, we're talking about things being more decentralized. It's very, I'm very bullish, in that same sense, with different businesses. I've spoken with friends who've been incorporating HoloChain, and I think it's definitely exciting to see how, the future of social media is sort of right around the corner. And I think that the public is really thirsting for that sort of thing, control of their own identity, owning their own data. These are conversations that need to happen, and it's definitely interesting to see. So even though the company continues to perform well financially, the past few years have undoubtedly been the roughest in Facebook's history, from its manipulation by Russia in the 2016 elections to multiple breaches of consumer privacy and trust. The company is struggling to demonstrate that it deserves the trust placed in it by over 2 billion users. So, obviously a Forbes article is going to be filled with bullshit. I don't really trust them the old media, these things. But it is interesting just to see that conversation building up around social media right now, which is sort of bringing us into that next age of the internet, that next paradigm shift that we're all sort of looking forward to. I think HoloChain does have a big part to play in that. Our cryptocurrencies, world's new safe haven. The China, this is a conversation that's sort of brewing, and it does definitely point to, I think, cryptocurrency, decentralized sort of future that I think both sides of the aisle are sort of interested in. Just seeing, generally more of a free internet, that sort of idea. But it would be interesting. And of course, Bitcoin versus gold. Definitely an interesting conversation. I'd like to hear some comments down below if you guys are interested in commenting on that. But of course, remember, this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. This video is for basically just family friendly. It's not financial advice, but of course, remember, I'm not your dad. So if you guys are interested, make sure that you subscribe and comment down below. And of course, make sure that you do your own due diligence. We're always interested in hearing you share your own opinions on these things, because that's what this channel is all about. So yeah, all that being said, I am pretty excited about the things that are happening with HoloChain in the near future. Definitely check this one out. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.